Just show up every day. Who do I need to show up to as today to be who I'm like wanting to be in the future? Like, who do I have to be today when I don't feel like going to my office, when I don't feel like returning some calls or doing, whatever that is? It's like, no, this is who I have to show up as today to get where I want tomorrow.
Without Fear of Her Future podcast is for women who are passionately pursuing financial freedom using multiple streams of income and real estate to accomplish their goals. We are here to empower you to be brave, dream big, and design a life that you love that inspires others to do the same. I'm your co-host, Andrea Engstrom, a real estate investor and business coach and co-founder of the Partnership for Realtors. And I'm here with my co-host, Tresa Todd, founder of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and author of the best-selling book, Without Fear of Her Future. Over the past 2 years, Tresa has had nearly 200,000 join her masterclass where she teaches women how to become successful real estate investors. Hey, Tresa.
Hey, well, it's going to be an amazing podcast today. For investors, every geographic location represents its own challenges and opportunities. As an investor living in a small town, Sarah Davis White had a decision to invest outside her market or bloom where she is planted. On today's episode, Sarah shares about her experience doing 13 deals in her first year and a half as an investor in a rural area and the unexpected blessings of being of service in her community. So welcome. So looking forward to sharing your story with our listeners today.
Yes, I'm excited.
Well, welcome to the podcast. Will you just start off by telling us where you're from, where you live, and where are you primarily investing?
Sure. I am in Southwest Kansas in a small town, less than 2,000 people. And I kind of live in the country north of that, actually. So if you were to look out my windows, you will see just fields as far as the eye can see. I live with the cows. That's what I always tell people. I live with the cows. Wow. And so we actually live in an area that has the 2 largest meatpacking plants in the world.
Wow.
And so when you go to your restaurants in your nice city places, it probably came from where I live.
Wow. One of those cows that you can see out your
That's right. And I can smell them too. That's the worst part.
Well, so tell us about your life and career. What did it look like before you started investing in real estate?
So it was interesting. I've kind of grown up a little bit around real estate, and I have a marketing degree, and I had my real estate license prior to having children. And then I started having babies, and I had 3 girls in 4 years, and just stayed at home. I raised my babies, and just am so blessed no matter how hard it was. Like, I got to see and be with all those first moments and all the reasons that you stay at home. But I could definitely feel I had a lot of growing in my faith in that time. And I really felt the Lord stir in my heart a little bit. Like, I knew, like, my identity is not in just being a mom or just being a wife or just, what I knew that there was some more that he was starting to stir. And I kept feeling like he wanted me to get my real estate license again. And I wrestled with him because I had done that. It was not what I wanted to do. I knew there was something more. And I think I've told this testimony before. Eventually, I gave in after looking at all the other options from what he was telling me to do. I went and got my license. And as soon as I did that, that's when the next door opened and I ran across your masterclass. And it was in that masterclass, everything kind of made sense. And he was just like, this is what I have for you. And I was just like, I'm like, why didn't I just listen to you in the beginning? Because it made sense afterwards. But sometimes it's just taking that first step to open that next door.
Yes, I agree.
Yes. Well, tell us what you've done in real estate investing over the past year and a half since you joined the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and the mentorship. What kind of deals do you do? What have you been doing?
Well, so because I live in such a small town, And it's a small town that, we've moved back to where I grew up. So I know lots of people. And you think that knocking on a door or making marketing calls to people you don't know is scary. Try doing it in your own backyard with these people who have grown up with you. It is terrifying. My very first deal was actually through a friend that was going through a divorce, and they were having to give this house back to the person they bought it from. And it was just coincidence. And I ran into her and I was like, okay, just followed my steps. I literally was going through this masterclass when this happened. And so I did my first flip. And then I sent out some marketing. I did letters. It was actually through someone else that I had kind of seen how they had marketed their letters, and just coming from a small area, I knew that this would speak to the people that I was trying to market to. We're kind of about 10 years behind the rest of the world. And I know, those mailings I knew would mean more than something electronic. So I started out with letters, and I put them in these big bright envelopes, and I handwrote everything, and it was my third letter I sent out, our third little batch, that I got a hold of somebody whose dad had just passed away, and he had rentals, and it started there. And it's just been through, weird circumstances that I started gaining all these. And so I've been doing the long-term rentals. And so I had bought over $1 million in like the first 6 months.
Awesome.
And it was just kind of crazy. All this was happening, and it sounded very fairy tale-ish at the beginning, but anybody who owns $1 million in properties, like I spent the next year I've been spending trying to, play a little bit of catch up and get these properties. I got so many at one time, really making them more efficient so that I am making more money.
So Sarah, in some markets, people are like, $1 million doesn't buy too much in my area. So what does $1 million translate to in number of properties in that first year?
Right. So I do live in an area that, $1 million was 11 properties. And
wow.
So
yeah.
I got, it's the value of homes is a lot better here. I know, and it's hard for me to comprehend, like when I'm watching these ladies from California and like these big places, like $1 million, and they're showing this like little tiny house. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I would be even scarier. But no, I have, it's 6,000 in income right now with those. And then, this area has got
6,000 a month,
right?
So 6,000. You're bringing in. You're profiting $6,000 a month.
No, that's the rent that's coming in.
Okay. Wow.
And that's without two of. So I've done another flip since then, and then right now I'm working on my first, what was going to be a short-term rental, but then I kind of have been following some of your ladies that have this midterm rental thing. And I saw that and I'm like, oh, that looks way more appealing. So I'm working on I have a house that's a 1900 old 2-story beautiful home that had all the original floors and trim and all the fun stuff, with all the ugly stuff too.
Yeah.
But I'm working on that right now. And hopefully, I'm hoping at the bare minimum, $2,000 a month for that, but I'm hoping double of that.
That is insane. Okay. I absolutely love this story because I love when you didn't make excuses because you live in a small town. You just figured it out. And you truly did hit the ground running. And so you've kind of talked about, you found the deals. You've sent out some mailers, like personal mailers. Obviously, right. If you're in Dallas, Texas, you could not do that because, we would have to send out mass mailers and we don't have time to print them out. But you're thinking out of the box and you're doing what works for you. So, and then you found some of them, I'm guessing, by word of mouth, because now it's getting out that this is what Sarah's doing.
Yes.
So has there been any other kind of actual marketing that you have done?
So I've been doing marketing adding some marketing into that. I mean, obviously what I was doing before, it was very time consuming and it got old very quickly. Me trying to send out tons of these letters and putting stamps on everything and, all the things. So since then I'm, adding more in there. I'm doing postcards instead of some letters in more of a mass mailing.
Yes.
And it's really funny because when you get on these calls and there's people sending out thousands at a time, and I'm like, I only have 27,000 people in my town. So, I mean, I'm sending out hundreds at a time, maybe 100, 200 at a time, and just hitting neighborhoods. And then I'll just kind of keep recycling it because someone who wasn't ready to sell a year ago, a lot happens in a year.
Oh,
That's right, girl.
I'll just hit that 27,000 and
over.
So Sarah, is there 27,000 in your county? Because you said there's 2,000 in the little town you live in, and you live right outside of that, but you're able to market to an area with 27,000 people.
Right. So 20 minutes away, there's a town, Dodge City, which is famous for its movies, Western movies and cowboys and all the things. That's where I do most of all my investing.
Awesome.
And it really is like when you're from a small town, it really is hard to market to the people that know you.
Yeah.
A lot of them aren't going to give you the deal that, someone in the next town would. And 20 minutes, so you just do what you have to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, everything I do is 20 minutes away.
Well, and I keep thinking about that. I was like, honestly, in a city, and I guarantee my 20-minute drive is way better than yours.
Yes, you're exactly right. You're exactly right. Well, what a story. So tell us, what are some of the advantages of investing in a small area?
Well, I think you have to be a little more creative. I don't have all the resources, and the resources that, a lot of the trainings I have to kind of adjust a little bit. It's really been quite humorous. I get to talk to Andrea on some of these things because I'm just like, I just have to laugh at it. When people go to PropStream and they go to these things, everything, all this information that's public knowledge is up to date. Well, where I live, nothing's up to date. People are still on paper and pen and so just trying to get pre-foreclosures. If I go to PropStream, there's no foreclosures and nothing is up to date. So I literally am like going around the courthouse. I'm going to the Register of Deeds. I'm going to the treasurer office. Then I'm hitting I'm like trying to find somebody that has this information. They're sending me to the courthouse and then they're sending me to the police station. And it's hilarious. My pre-foreclosure list is stapled on a bulletin board at the police station.
Oh my goodness.
I love it. But the craziest thing about this is you're determined. You're not using excuses. You're not like, well, I can't do it and PropStream doesn't work and da da da. I mean, you're just literally doing and being resourceful and I love it. And 13 deals in 1 year. That is amazing. I am so excited, so proud of you.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and it's so fun because you listen to these people. And I think this has been my advice because since I've joined WREIN, it's obviously grown a lot. I was kind of more towards the beginning when I didn't see as many women in my situation. And since then, I am seeing a lot more women coming in and like being in this situation. And it's not your normal Dallas and, big city areas that are kind of facing a lot of the same situations. And so, it's fun and being able to encourage and just.
Well, here's the deal is there are people with problems in every city, in every county,
that's right.
in the United States of America. And when we realize that, let's just try to help the people in our area and create a win-win. And
right. And I think that it's been my faith journey in this, just so many times it's so easy to not want to be where you're at. Mm-hmm. And it's been such a big revelation when God is like, you are where you're like supposed to be. And these things that happen to you in any of our lives, was supposed to happen. And I think there's so much suffering that happens when we have our mindset that something's not the way it's supposed to be, whether it's the loss of somebody, if it's in our job, it's in any aspect of our life, accepting that that will be used is just, it's so important. And it really opens more doors.
Yes, I love that. I always think that there's this, I know that there's a scripture that says this, but it's like, for such a time as this, you've been placed in this position, in this location, in this circumstance, whatever it is. And to have the faith to know that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be right now, and that God can use me no matter where I am. Because I think a lot of us will we could spend our whole lives wishing our circumstances were different, wishing that our lives were different, or we lived in a different place or whatever. And we just have a choice to make if we accept it and look for the blessings that can be in that. So talk to us a little bit about what's, I know there's unique challenges that exist with the prop stream and all these things, and you got to find information a different way. But what's the good stuff? Like, what's been good about in getting started as an investor in a small rural area?
Well, I mean, it's not over. I'm not sending out 1,000, things. It's not as expensive to market to a couple hundred people compared to 1,000. And it's the connections. Like, it's really easy. Everybody knows everybody. We also own an electrical company. And so that has been really detrimental in like a lot of my resources for contractors and for different things. Right now, I have a commercial property that I'm doing. I kind of accidentally bought this property downtown in our small town. And someone knew I was in real estate, and they were calling me and they were in trouble. They needed out of this property. And I'm like, what she wanted for it, I was like, I can't, like, that. My numbers don't work. I'm not interested. And she's like, just give me a number. And this is all through text. And so I just throw out a number, and she's like, sold. And so I just looked.
I love it.
And I go, I just bought a building. And so it's, it's those little connections. People know who you are. When someone's talking to their friend, they're like, oh, Sarah, is doing that. And so I have people calling for that. And I had some lady call from Dodge looking for investment property. And because of my license, I can throw my sign up in front of. So this property that I'm renovating, I just have my sign. I have it for sale for marketing. I mean, everything's for sale. If someone wants to come and buy it, like, everything's for sale.
That's right.
But in the meantime, I'm just, have my name out there, I have my number out there, I have people call in, and that's leading to other things.
Yeah.
Tell us about how having your real estate license, because Sarah, you're in the partnership, and so we get to talk a lot about this stuff. But how does having your real estate license serve you well as a real estate investor?
Well, I think it just takes out another piece that you would have to pay somebody. It's just another form of revenue for me. And it gives me another, and this was all taught in your training, like, it's another opportunity to offer help to somebody. So I know Andrea and I get to talk a lot more often because of the partnership, but when people call me, it's just another way, like, oh, they're not distressed sellers. It wouldn't have worked for me to get a deal that way, but hey, I can list your house for you.
Yeah. So you take off your investor hat and put on your realtor hat, and like, okay, but I can list this house and make it, some money that way. Love it.
Right. So it's another form of income, and it's just more, resources as far as, when I go to these meetings, I'm getting my hand in another pot of people.
Right.
And so it's helping with that end too, and just meeting people.
Sarah and I were talking the other day about this round of letters that she had sent out, and you had a couple people reach out to you recently that were not distressed. And I found that very interesting as a real estate agent, how marketing for distressed sellers, you kind of are able to approach that differently when you have someone call you that is not a distressed person, but they happen to own a non-owner occupied property.
Right. So a lot of the people that are calling me back, not what I was looking for. But I always keep in mind that my ultimate thing is my impact in the kingdom. And so when someone calls me, just being very open-minded to how God wants to use me in this, because I sent it out for a distressed seller, but a lot of times I'm either getting different resources or I'm able to bless somebody that I would have never been able to reach out and bless had I not done this. Mm-hmm. And so, I had an example this last week. I got a call back, and it was this 68-year-old man, and we ended up on the phone for an hour, and he was in tears by the end of the conversation because he's not a distressed seller. He had lost his wife to cancer, and he was just starting the thought process of getting rid of all the stuff. Like, he's ready to retire and be done. But in that, we were able to really, connect, and he didn't have anyone to talk to, one, and two, anyone to be real with. Mm-hmm. He has 4 sons, and he's a farmer. And if you know anybody that is, they don't show emotion. They don't have anyone to, they're hurting, and he didn't have anyone to talk to. And it was almost like God sent, this phone call for it to give him that place to really just share his hurt, share that. And it just, by the end of the conversation, being able to pray with him and to bless him in a different way than I expected. Mm-hmm. This is what it's about. It's not just shutting off that door because it wasn't exactly what I was marketing for, but it was just showing somebody Jesus in that situation.
Yeah, I love that. Love that.
I love it too. So talk to us about, so I think that there's a lot of people that are in small towns like you are, and they use that as a reason why they can't be successful. So what advice would you give someone who is in a rural area or in a small town that wants to become a real estate investor?
I think it's listening to, God's voice. What is the first step? It's sometimes just doing that insignificant thing that opens the next door. So, God thinks so much bigger than we do. And it seems like we don't want to step out because we can't see how this possibly could become anything. And I think it's taking that first, what is, in your heart, what is that thing that you're supposed to do, but you're not doing it because it doesn't make sense. Step out, do that next thing. I mean, I would have never imagined. I had so many things in my heart, but how I thought that God was going to use me in that ended up being completely different. This door that I stepped into the investing side has opened all the doors to, blessing women. I mean, here I am on this. It opened the door to other podcasts that, I've been on. It's opened doors to being on the connection calls and blessing women and just helping people find freedom and health, because, it's a numbers game. Like the real estate thing really is a numbers game. And it's a numbers game whether you're in Dallas or it's a numbers game if you're in Southwest Kansas in the farm. The numbers are going to work if you just show up. Mm-hmm. And so just show up, see where that leads you. Who knows if this is going to be where the location you are. Maybe you're just getting your experience here. You can't fathom how God's going to use where you're at right now for a year down the road, 5 years down the road. So,
yes,
just start, show up, do that thing that, Holy Spirit's prompting you to do something. Just follow through with that one insignificant thing.
Yeah. What you just said resonates so hard with me because, I started my investing career in Kansas. So I started out in Topeka, Kansas, and I bought 10 properties there in 6 months. And what you just said about it, you never know if it's setting you up for something else. And so after 6 months of investing in Kansas, we ended up moving to Colorado, which is into an area where the prices for properties here are about 8 times what it was in the city that I started. But having that foundation and that basis of knowledge just gave me the confidence to be able to move into this new, bigger, more expensive market. And so you're absolutely right. And even if you never move away from the town where you started, you never know. Like God may have short-term rentals for you in California or Florida or some other place or commercial properties around the corner. Like you found, Sarah, that you
never know.
Absolutely.
I just want to say also, I think Andrea was doing this even that short time she was in Kansas. In a small town, it's so much easier to create a brand
Yes.
and, put yourself in the paper and get, and all of that and let everybody know what you're doing that's going to
Yes.
drive. In Dallas, Texas, you have to flip 100 homes before anybody even knows who you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Begins to
Right.
know who you are. But there, you can flip 4 or 5 houses and everybody's like, who is this girl that's flipping all these houses? So,
No, you're
Yeah.
totally right. And that actually came true. Like I went to, you're trained like to have the invest or your who's taking care of your property, the property manager.
Mhm.
And I walked in and yeah, like there's only a handful of
Yeah.
people using this. And I happen to have an amazing they happen to have an amazing setup, and it's been super blessed with that. But she's like, you are the first woman to come walking in this property.
I love
And
it.
so I'm the only one that's there. So yeah, it is. It's a lot less to get a name.
Yeah.
Yeah. We call it like you can either be a small fish in a big pond
Mhm.
or a big fish in a small pond. And when you're in a little community in Kansas, you get to be kind of a big fish in a small pond right away.
Yeah.
And what you said, Teresa, is so true. Like within a few months of becoming an investor, like I was getting interviewed to be in the paper and they put our picture on the front page of the paper. And that just doesn't happen in bigger communities, but it's such a blessing. And we actually we ended up getting one of our most profitable deals from that exposure, which was such a cool thing. So, one of the things I love about small communities is how accessible both the media and your local community leaders are to people who want to solve problems and create positive development in their area. So, Sarah, how do local relationships benefit you in your investing?
Well, so, I go to dinner and talk with the biggest investor, like real estate investor, and it's not weird. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, we're just friends with them. It's not, these are all just people that we do life with. And I think that has been interesting, but I also find it really interesting as much as I feel like I know nothing, everything that I do, I feel like I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm just doing it anyway. And I don't know if that feeling ever goes away, but I'm hoping that it does. But it's funny, even in the moment that I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I feel like that, imposter syndrome where I'm talking to these people, but the training is amazing because when I'm speaking, they're like, oh, wow, like these people just made up and are figuring it out on their own.
Yeah.
And so I know so much more than I think I do.
Yes.
Because when I'm talking with them, and these are people who have done, I don't know how many they've but way longer than me. And they are taking away things and didn't know stuff that I had been trained on. And so I think that even if you don't feel like you know what you're doing, you know more than you think you do, because there's people out doing this with a lot less knowledge. And
you are so right. And, we say that all the time. And I don't think that people can comprehend it when I will say, even at the end of a masterclass, this is before you've even joined the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and get all the coaching and all the, other training, that more than 90% of real estate investors, because so many of them they don't have training. They just jump out there and they're learning. It's taken them, they may have done a lot more deals than you, but they have probably failed a lot more than you, and it took them longer to reach where they are. So I love that you're saying that, and it makes me really proud when I hear my students say, I knew way more than I thought I did. And I hear it all the time when people are talking about, well, I went to my first local Real Estate Investors Association and I could have intelligent conversations. I love it.
It's very encouraging.
Well, okay. So all of us have challenging situations that arise as investors, whether we're in big cities or small cities or wherever we are. And you are such an encouragement to our network. The way that you are just always helping and blessing others. I love that. I love that. So what do you do to keep your mindset right as an investor when things are, going crazy?
Right. Recently, I think it's always progressing. And I think the Lord's always revealing new things and new people. And I think it's being aware of his presence and his voice all the time. And so on the connection calls that I've done, it's really been helping, just trying to get women to listen to that voice. When you have a bad feeling, it's like, wait a minute, that's not from God. Like, why am I feeling that? And just really replacing truth with every bad thought that's in there. And, reading books and being around people that, are encouraging and that you want to be like, my advice that I always write on, we go to graduations or whatever, and they're like, write one word of advice. It's like, never take advice from somebody you don't want to be like. And so that's always my advice. And so, I look up, Andrea is super encouraging. So we've done the Miracle Morning was this year, kind of something that we had done together and talked about. And that has made a huge difference this year.
Awesome.
Was listening to that Miracle Morning for real estate agents. It changed everything, and changing that morning and just getting my mindset right in the morning.
Yes.
And following those simple steps. And sometimes it was so hard to get out of bed. I have fought depression. I've fought anxiety. I've done those things. It's really hard to get out of bed. And I figured, like that book kind of helped me. Like if I can just get up and brush my teeth, if I can brush my teeth, and then it's like, okay, I have these 4 things. I don't have to think about what I'm doing next.
Right.
Like now it's just, here's my list, and I just do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I am such a believer in the morning routine. It sets the pace for the day. Sets the pace.
And it didn't happen every night, overnight. I always tell people that, because I can't tell you how many times you hear that from anybody who's successful. They're like, your morning routine. It took some time. It didn't happen overnight. So don't give up.
That's right. That is so true. Okay. All right. Well, I want to know what has been the most unexpected blessing from getting into real estate investing.
Oh, honestly, for me, I think confidence and just really stepping into identity, like learning my identity. I think it makes you get out of your comfort zone. And anytime that you're out of your comfort zone, you're growing. And I think that's been the biggest blessing for me, is just growing and continually challenging myself to really step into that identity and get to start seeing and being revealed those things that God has and like my purpose, and I feel like don't even feel like I've even touched the ice, tip of the iceberg yet. But that's the biggest blessing. It's just stepping out and continue to be revealed, like who I am, my place in this.
We talk an awful lot around here about doing hard things and doing brave things. And that's what you've done. You just kept taking steps that were hard. You were brave, and you faced your, all of your fears and insecurities. And, there is nothing like that to build our confidence. When we begin to just take those little steps and do braver things, we realize that we're braver than we ever dreamed we were. We can do, we're stronger. We can do hard things. And then we begin to have this newfound respect for ourselves. It's like, who am I?
Yes.
Yeah. And then, so much of what we do is faith-based as well. And for you, Sarah, we see that God's in it and God is blessing us, and we give him the glory. And the more we give him the glory, I believe the more doors he opens up for us.
Absolutely.
And you are certainly have proven that. And so I just want to say thank you. What a blessing you are to the Women's Real Estate Investors Network.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Obviously, you're been the biggest blessing and life change for me also.
Yeah. And Sarah, I love having you in our Mindset Mastermind calls, in the Partnership for Realtors. You're one of our leaders in our group, one of our founding members. And, I love the insights that you bring to us. But I also love how you're such an encourager within the Women's Real Estate Investors Network. You're a leader. Tell us what was the most helpful thing to you in joining the Women's Real Estate Investors Network?
The most helpful thing, I think the realness. Just sounds kind of weird. I feel like there's a lot of realness that came. There's a lot of people that it wasn't, this is all just, some fairy tale. Like, there is a realness and there's struggles, and the people can come real. And if you look at posts in the network, people are like, hey, I'm hurting. Like, I've been trying this and this is hard. And I think that was very encouraging. I've been in lots of different businesses. I've done different things, and it seems like all you hear is the good. And that doesn't always make you feel encouraged. Sometimes that, is kind of discouraging. And so I think for me, at the top of my head, the first thing I think of is just the realness. It's the okay to fail. It's okay that this is not going how I want it to go. And being surrounded by other people like, me too, let's keep going.
Yes.
Yeah. Because, it's not a get rich quick scheme. This is a business. This is an entrepreneurship. And it's, it's going to require being brave and doing hard things. But the payoff is pretty amazing. In so many ways. I think that it has made me a better person, not just, more financially secure and all that, but just a better person, a stronger woman. And when I see that for our students, it makes my heart so happy. And so, and again, I've seen that in you. You have done so many amazing things in such a short time. What are your goals for the future?
So, I've been listening to the podcast. A lot of times, even if it's something as simple as just, okay, knocking on the door, you do it, you get your first deal, you can pat yourself on the back and be so proud of yourself. Sometimes you have to put yourself back in this group and see what other people are doing. You're like, oh man, that was nothing. Like, it helps step your game up a little bit. And so, in the podcast, I think, is it Kristen? She's like doing the wholesaling stuff and these other things that I haven't yet done. So I think that's my goal. I want to really start stepping into some more cash lucrative things. I've got the long-term stuff, down. I've got that income, that monthly stuff coming in regularly, but maybe stepping out and doing, and I've made some more connections with buyers and sellers and different things. So I really want to start focusing more and start doing some more things to get some cash.
Love it.
Awesome. Well, you are such an inspiration, I think, to so many women in our network. And I love asking our guests for takeaways. So what are the 3 things, Sarah, that you would advise an investor or an entrepreneur who's looking to be brave and grow, or is perhaps feeling stuck where they are?
So, I think my first one is always, in the end, it's about your impact in the kingdom. And in God's kingdom, there's a bigger picture than and I think the marketplace is where God's showing up in big ways. And I think he wants people in his kingdom to be making big money and to be doing things. So I always think keeping that in the forefront, you've got to be healthy. Let's get a healthy base. We talk a lot about this in the connection calls where let's heal a lot of these emotional things. Let's do some stuff so that when you are successful, you can make the most impact in his kingdom. We don't want to get all the way to the top, get all this money and have a complete meltdown because we never healed some of these things that happened in the past or, had that relationship with God to be able to handle that. So I always think that's number 1 for me. And I think second would be the permission to fail.
Yes.
You're just going to fail. I think I always tell my kids every time they fail something, we celebrate it. Cause I'm like, hey, you tried.
That's right.
Go fail. I don't care. That means you're trying, you're doing something. Yeah. And I think any successful person knows that the more times you fail, it honestly is the biggest blessing. And so it's where you learn things. It's how you find out who you are when things aren't going your way. So that would probably be my number 2. And last is keep showing up. Just show up every day. I don't remember if this was where I even heard this. But it's, who do I need to show up to as today to be who I'm like wanting to be in the future? Like, who do I have to be today? And so that helps me so much when I don't feel like going to my office, when I don't feel like returning some calls or doing, whatever that is. It's like, no, this is who I have to show up as today to get where I want tomorrow. And so I would say that's probably my last one there.
Love
Awesome.
it. Love it.
Well, Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today. We're so proud of you and glad to have you in our circles. Well, on behalf of the Women's Real Estate Investors Network and Tresa Todd, I'm Andrea Engstrom, encouraging you to be brave and dream big.